In the crowded marketplace of Ibadan, Yemi rushed between stalls, her arms full of woven baskets. She dodged a chicken running across the dusty path and felt Auntie Funka's eyes on her back, sharp as knives. "And Yemi, slow down, oh! You're going to break all my wares now!" Auntie Funka shouted, shaking her head. "Sorry, Ma," Yemi called back, trying to calm her racing heart. Auntie Funka sold the best fabrics in town, and one day, Yemi dreamed of opening her shop too. But today, woven baskets and bundles of cloth were all she had. As Yemi helped a customer, a familiar voice sliced through the chatter of the market. It was Hawa, her cousin, bragging loudly as usual. "They didn't have this fabric in Lagos, so I came here," Hawa said, loud enough for all to hear. Her shiny hair and expensive clothes drew eyes like a magnet. Yemi quietly watched from the corner of her eye, sensing something off. Hawa had been borrowing Mom's pots lately without returning them. Now she was buying luxury fabrics? After the market ended, Yemi walked home with Auntie Funka, the evening breeze cooling the sweat on her face. "Yemi, you're too kind-hearted," Auntie Funka said, softly but firmly. "These people, they don't all have your good mind." Yemi sighed. "It's just Hawa, Auntie. She could have borrowed it, but you think she's in trouble?" "Tread carefully," Auntie Funka warned, squeezing Yemi's shoulder. "She might not be what she seems." Just days later, the house buzzed with whispers. The family gathered around the table for a meeting. Yemi's father, his voice gruff and tired, spoke. "Something isn't right with this money disappearing. Each month things get tighter." Yemi looked at her mother, who seemed drained, her spirit dimmed by worry. "It's not me, Baba," Yemi insisted. "I'm careful with what I spend." Her father nodded slowly, but the suspicion in the room felt heavy, hanging over Yemi like a dark cloud. Later that night, Yemi tossed and turned. Who else could it be? The next morning she bumped into Hawa on the street. "Hawa!" Yemi called out, forcing a smile. "How is Lagos?" Hawa rolled her eyes. "The usual," she replied, flipping her hair. "Busy and full of opportunities, unlike here." Yemi frowned slightly. Opportunities? But she couldn't spend on family. It was all tangled. Yemi felt it deep in her bones that something twisted was happening. Hawa avoided Yemi's eyes, busying herself with her phone. "Listen, Yemi, I need some help." "Again?" Yemi's heart sank. "Of course. What do you need?" But before Hawa could speak, loud voices rang out from the direction of their compound. Curious, they both turned. There, in front of their home, was a gathering crowd, and standing in the center, a furious older man pointing accusing fingers, his voice rising above the chatter. The man was a trader from the Lagos market, shouting about debts and missing payments. "Yemi!" her father shouted, his eyes blazing with anger and shame. "What is this?" Yemi felt the ground tilt beneath her. "I don't know, Baba. I haven't been to Lagos in months." But Hawa stepped back, merging with the shadows, silent, her face unreadable. Yemi was filled with panic as neighbors whispered behind their hands. The shame was heavy, pressing down on her heart. "You embarrassment." Her father's voice was low, full of hurt and disappointment. "How could you?" Yemi opened her mouth to protest, but the weight of the accusation silenced her. Who would believe the truth now? Later, alone in her room, Yemi could hear her mother sobbing softly. Tears burned in Yemi's own eyes. Never had she felt so isolated in her own home. Like she was losing everything she ever knew. It was there in the quiet darkness. She understood the betrayal was deeper than she'd thought. Hawa had left without a word, guilt carved into her absence. Revenge crept into her thoughts like a shadow. Hawa had taken everything, a clean name, dignity, and family trust. Yemi sat up, a fire lighting in her that she hadn't felt before. She wouldn't let this go, not without a fight. Days passed, and in the market, as she begrudgingly tied baskets, each twist of the rope hardened her resolve. She listened quietly, intent on every whisper, every mention of Hawa. One day, she overheard a conversation between two vendors. "Hawa's in town again, you say? Busy with fancy deals? Oh." Something snapped in Yemi. She couldn't suffer silently anymore. Yemi cornered Hawa near a bright fabric stall, her voice low but fierce. "Why did you do it, Hawa? You know I didn't take the money." Hawa's laugh was light, dismissive. "Oh, Yemi, Money comes, money goes. Why so serious? Yemi's eyes reflected a storm. A joke to you, maybe, but it cost me everything. She stepped closer, anger rising. You'll fix this, Hawa, or so help me. I'll make sure everyone knows the truth. Tut tut, Hawa replied with faux innocence. How do you plan to do that? Yemi's mind raced through possibilities. Answers knotted themselves in her stomach. Exposing her cousin seemed impossible as she stood alone. Yemi's vengeance was a storm brewing, but she knew she couldn't confront Hawa directly without evidence. She decided to gather proof first, to track Hawa's dealings and money trails. Just then, her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden pain in her leg, so intense that it buckled beneath her. Yemi fell to the ground, gasping, the market lights blurring as she struggled to regain her bearings. Help! Yemi cried between breaths. People rushed over, concerned and confused. Her world was spinning, her leg refusing to obey her command. This new betrayal felt cruel and undeserved. As the dust settled and the truth of her injury loomed menacingly, Yemi's desperation burned brighter. A clear, small voice mocked her from a past she hadn't revisited in years. The world around Yemi spun as she lay on the hard earth of the marketplace. The pain in her leg was sharp, unforgiving. Concerned faces hovered above her as the crowd gathered. Yemi, you will be all right. Auntie Funka's voice was steady, her hands warm against Yemi's clammy skin, yet worry clouded her eyes. We'll get you to the hospital, just hold on. Yemi nodded, dazed. In the blur, she vaguely noticed Hawa watching from the periphery, her expression mixed with something Yemi couldn't quite place. A few hours later, Yemi lay in a hospital bed, discomfort thrumming through her body. Her leg was bandaged, immobilized, and the doctor had said it might never fully heal. She imagined her independence slipping away, replaced by dependence, and the shame spiraled anew. Ah, Yemi, her mother said, sitting by her side, her voice cracked with a mixture of love and concern. I prayed for you all night. God has a reason even for this. But Yemi only nodded, her heart too heavy to absorb her mother's faith. Her mind wandered to the unfinished business with Hawa. Hawa finally appeared at the hospital, guilt shadowing her features as she met Yemi's eyes. The overwhelming anger subsided for a moment, replaced by a sharp sense of betrayal. You came, Yemi said, her voice low, thick with emotion. Hawa shifted uncomfortably. I heard about your accident. I'm sorry, Yemi. Sorry? Yemi's brown eyes hardened. Hawa, you need to fix this. You need to clear my name. Hawa looked away, her voice almost a whisper. I didn't think. Everything got out of hand. You know I didn't mean for this. Then do something. Yemi's frustration boiled over into tears. You owe me that much. Their conversation ended abruptly as a nurse walked in, sensing the heightened tension. Hawa lingered at the doorway, caught between confession and the walls her pride had built for so long. Yemi lay awake, long after visiting hours ended. The stillness of the hospital room felt suffocating. Her mind raced through plans, each one more desperate than the last. She'd confront Hawa publicly, contact the Legos trader herself or something, anything to restore her family's honor and her place in her father's eyes. Yet slowly, the adrenaline gave way to fatigue, and she found herself whispering a prayer she scarcely believed. God, I don't know what to do. Help me. The next afternoon, Auntie Funka brought a visitor to the hospital. An older woman, her face lined with years and wisdom, Pastor Ngozi from the local church. My dear, Pastor Ngozi began, settling into the chair by Yemi's bed. Auntie Funka told me everything. You're bearing a heavy burden, and it shows. But there's a lesson here. I feel lost, Ma, Yemi confessed, the tears coming unbidden. I'm angry and... Her words faltered into silence. Pastor Ngozi nodded, her eyes kind. The world tells us revenge is the answer, but it only deepens our wounds. I once felt what you feel, but let me share a passage from Proverbs 20:22. Do not say, I will repay evil. Wait for the Lord, and he will deliver you. Her words hung in the air, resonating as Yemi considered them. These storms in our lives, they are opportunities to see God's grace and power to redeem, the pastor continued. That night, Yemi lay quietly, Pastor Ngozi's words repeating in her mind. She thought of how Hawa had drifted apart, of all the assumptions and judgments. Deep down, a new awareness awoke, a realization that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't only about Hawa's actions, but her path forward. Her resolve flickered as faith contended with her desire for justice. The anger no longer burned as fiercely, overshadowed by the potential peace that now whispered at the edges of her heart. Yemi closed her eyes, a new prayer forming. Jesus, show me the way, help me forgive. The following day, Yemi asked to see Hawa again. The nervous tension between them was palpable, strung across unfinished words and past hurts. I want to understand, Hawa, Yemi began softly this time. I want to forgive you, but I need to know what happened. Hawa's defenses slipped, tears filling her eyes. It was greed, Yemi. At first it seemed harmless, a little here, a little there, but it spiraled. Yemi listened as Hawa poured her guilt and shame, the pieces of her story knitting a tapestry of poor decisions and desperation. I lost myself, and it cost you everything, Hawa admitted, the regret in her voice raw and bare. I'll speak with Father and the Legos trader. I owe you that. This vulnerable exchange felt like breaking chains. It was in this humility Yemi sensed a quiet strength, a chance to rebuild. Her father agreed to talk, and the wheels of reconciliation were set in motion. Rebuilding wouldn't be easy. Yemi knew scars remained, and trust would have to be earned over time. Yet in that hospital room, a new foundation was laid, not of vengeance, but of grace. One evening, alone with her thoughts, Yemi looked down at her leg, and then out of the window, reflecting on all that had changed. She picked up her phone, leaving a message for Hawa. Let's work through this, together. As the sun set over Ibadan, Yemi felt a new beginning. In her heart, she carried a hard-won peace. Revenge leaves us empty, but Christ brings wholeness, she whispered, the truth settling over her like a long-awaited dawn. The journey ahead was steep, but with each step, Yemi felt the quiet strength hold her steady, and she knew she was never truly alone.
Thank you so much for listening to this intriguing story. I hope it touched you or taught you something. For more stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the page. And guys, if you'd like to see a part 2, or you have thoughts on what happened, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.